Salty dogs will probably lose their minds, but when you see this thing with new sails, there's no doubt it's just straight up sexy.
Hi, I'm Joe, and welcome to Motor City Boat Werks. Let's get to work. Today in the Boat Werks, it's time to restep the mast and mess around with the roller furling for the Skipper 20 sailboat. We want to make sure that everything fits properly, that all of the hardware is correct, and everything is working the way it's supposed to. I've also got to take a look at how am I going to run the lines aft to the cockpit to ensure that it's very easy to be able to control all of the sails, and we really don't have to go forward of the cockpit to do anything. This is what we called setting it up for single-handed sailing. New sails have arrived for the little sailboat. They really look good. I purchased these sails from National Sails in Florida. They are a distributor for Raleigh Tasker Sails. These are high quality sails. They're actually made in Asia and then, imported into the United States. I've used these sails before on a number of boat restorations. I'm really kind of pleased with them. I think the quality, the value, what you get for what you pay is really very good.
I say it every episode, Motor City Boat Werks has no sponsors. I get compensated in no way for any of the products or the places, the people that I talk about on my channel. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and help spread the word. This channel would not be possible without your support. Thank you.
I purchased sails like this before during the Compact 16 Pilot House build. You've probably seen my videos on how I did that build, but I want to tell you, I've also gone ahead and made a 28-page e-booklet. It kind of talks about all of the details and the build process, the planning, all the things that you got to take in consideration when you're doing a build like this. This e-booklet includes an overall budget for that particular project, goes into very detail about what all of the components cost and what it took to get it to look like it does in the photographs like you see it. I also included a detailed materials list. Everything that you've got to buy and have on hand in order to be able to do, a pilot house conversion that looks like this. In that e-booklet, I also included my detailed notes on purchasing new sails for that boat. I talk about my experiences of kind of shopping around, trying to get the best price, what that was like. Now, the booklet is free if you're a worker and you're contributing to the channel through my Patreon account. Otherwise, you can buy the booklet directly from Patreon. It'll be available there for you. This is definitely one of those things that you have to do before you ever get to the water, before you ever try to splash the boat. You've got to make sure that everything fits the way it's supposed to, that all of the lines and everything are working like they're supposed to. You cannot do the restoration on your boat and then go to the boat ramp, launch the boat and think that you're going to do this the first time when you get it in the water. This, for me, is now the second time that I'm putting the mast up in the boatyard so that I can work out all the kinks and make sure everything's right. Each time I'm discovering new things and making new lists of things that have got to be changed. Everything from the mast step bolt was a little bit too short to I needed to put a turning block for the topping lift at the top of the mast. All sorts of little details that you've got to figure out.
I tell you this because a lot of well-meaning individuals on YouTube and the various boating channels, they would have you believe that restoring an old sailboat is just a matter of pressure washing it, maybe fixing some fiberglass, sanding something, throwing some paint on it, and then suddenly you're going to have a restored sailboat. This is just nonsense, and you shouldn't listen to it. The reality is that it takes a lot of effort to get a sailboat, an old sailboat, to function properly so that a sailor, a real sailor, could take it out and maybe sail it around. Anybody who tells you differently, they're not being honest with you.
All right, so take a look at this. I want to show this. This, we redid the chain plate, and the chain plate has somewhat of a square profile here. But you can see now, when the mast was going up, the turnbuckle here got jammed against it. So now we've got to loosen it up, but you can't loosen it up because everything's tight. So I've got to pop the pin and move this around. But this would indicate that perhaps this edge needs to be rounded over just a little bit so this thing next time will slide as it goes around. This is completely seized. I don't know how the am I gonna fix this thing? I don't know if I can do this. I bet I can do this. Let me there. See? Oh, interesting. Okay, take a look. Here's the real problem. It's bent. We probably need to fix that by getting a new one. Son of that is bent. Look at that. So a couple things to remember when you're doing this. It's great to run a safety line. And what I used was a main sheet halyard. It's tied off at the mast. I brought it forward, tied it to one of the cleats on the deck. And this just brings the mast forward and kind of holds it in place. It's not for long term. It's just to give some freedom of movement on the forestay here so I can bring it forward, get it in the right position, get it shackled up or pinned up, and then go ahead and start making my adjustments on it to get the proper tension. Right now, it's actually quite loose. You can see how loose the furler is, right? And we're not sure whether it's going to go in this position or one forward or even all the way to the very bow of the bowsprit, right? It's probably going to go in one of these positions because that's what it's designed for with the bobstay down here. This is the way that it came designed. But over the years, and because I have added different things to it, it's been cobbled together, right? Maybe there's nothing, maybe it doesn't make the proper distance here, right? So we might have to come up with a spacer or something to make sure everything fits. There are some adjustments that happen inside here. The turnbuckle for the forestay is inside this drum here, and you can undo the pin, move it out of the way, and get inside there and make adjustments. When I put the roller furler together, I don't remember what position it was in. Everything was loose anyway, right? So well, I just have to check that, and this is all part of the kind of adjustment process for the setup. Take a look here, see? Take a look, see, this slides up, and now you can see everything. We actually have quite a bit of adjustment here on the turnbuckles, so I just need to make some adjustments.
The new roller furler for this boat is actually a used unit. I bought it a number of years ago, and I've had it sitting around. I decided to install it on this boat. It is what's called a CDI Flexible Furler. It's actually an FF2 model instead of the FF1, which is the smallest one that would fit on here. But it doesn't really matter because everything has been sized properly now. The roller furler is basically a flexible plastic foil that goes around the forestay, and it connects to a drum, and inside this drum, well, that's where your furling line goes. The furler then spins around the forestay, wrapping the sails up or unwrapping them as you haul them out. The forestay doesn't spin. It stays fixed at the top of the mast and then down on the deck. The furler has to be pinned into a particular position and have to adjust the tension. Then we can go ahead and load the sail onto the furler and begin taking a look at how the lines are going to be run so that everything leads back to the cockpit. There are detailed instructions and how-to online, so you can follow all the steps to do this. It's all about sizing and fitting things properly, ensuring that the sails aren't going to get chafed in any way, and that the furler mechanism spins properly so that the sails can be pulled out and then hauled back in. Trailerable sailboats also have to take into consideration the ease with which the mast is installed each time. So you really got to make sure that everything fits properly and that it's very easy and efficient to get the mast up and down. This is another advantage to doing this a number of times in the boatyard before you go to the boat ramp. You get really good at it and you kind of come up with your own technique and process for stepping and unstepping the mast. Now, you don't have to do this fiddly level of adjustment every time you're going to step the mast on your trailerable sailboat. You only have to do this the first time when you're done with your boat restoration, you've got your sails that you're going to put on, and you're prepping everything and getting it ready, sizing everything to make sure that it's proper when you go to the boat launch ramp. Once you make all these adjustments, once all the sails are fitted and everything is the way it's supposed to be, it'll be very easy to take it apart. It'll stay the same for the next time, and then it's just a matter of stepping the mast and you can go sailing.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we need to figure out how to route this red line here. This is the furling line. This is the one you pull on to, furl up the sail. It's got to be routed across the deck so it doesn't snag on anything. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the foredeck and see what's going on there, what kind of room we have to either mount a turning block or maybe a fair lead somewhere. And then we're going to bring it back here. And, what it really needs is just a simple cleat, probably like right here somewhere. And to do that, we might just use this black cleat here. This came off of the side of the boat earlier in the project. We'll put this right here. These are the same ones that are here on the mast. Now, I talked about removing all of these black ones because you don't know what the black material is, what type of plastic it is. But on closer inspection, they look to be pretty high quality. So I think I'm just going to reuse this, and since I don't have any smaller cleats in the shop to put on here right now, we'll just put this on here and it will hold that line right there. So that's the plan.
Just because I'm going to reuse these old vintage cleats here doesn't mean that I can just screw it into the deck. Cleats always have to be through bolted. That's just one of the rules. There's no point in putting a cleat in if you're not going to through bolt it. Be sure to watch my other videos about how to install deck fittings like handrails and blocks and various things like that. You've got to use the right marine sealant and you've got to follow a particular process so you don't end up with damage to the core of the deck of your sailboat.
One of the things you want to keep in mind when you're converting over to roller furling is which side of the boat is the roller furler going to route to. It can go on the line can go on the port side or it can go on the starboard side. It's only one line that comes from the roller furler aft. And depending on what line that you choose, I usually choose the starboard side, well, that's going to impact the sail maker. When they make the sails, they usually will put a piece of sombrella material on the edge of the roller furling sail. That way, when you roll it up, the sail itself is protected by this sombrella. It kind of wraps around there and covers everything up, protects it from the UV, sun, weather, whatever. Well, you got to know what side of the boat you're routing your lines on because that impacts what side they put that sombrella material on. You want to make sure all of that's kind of aligned. I originally thought that there would probably be some sort of turning block on the deck or something like that, maybe a pulley system or maybe some blocks attached somewhere to get the lines to route the right way. But it looks like this would be a very simple process of putting in what's called a little fair lead fitting here. Attach it right to the bow pulpit. There's already a block on the bowsprit. I'll be able to run the furler line through the block, through the fair lead, all the way back to where the winches are and have it just tied off on a cleat. This makes it nice and easy. It reduces the number of holes I got to drill in the deck. I think it's the best way to do this. All right. So this is the ensign for the little sailboat. This is the original flag that came with it. It's probably nearing the end of its life, but we're going to go ahead and use it anyway for the sea trial. What I wanted to show you was I usually prefer to hang my ensign to mount it using the backstay on a little sailboat. I like it flying off of the backstay, and there are some jam cleats that you can get that will attach to the backstay and allow you to hang the ensign, very simply. It can be taken on, taken off by hand. It's a very simple kind of thing. I've used that on all of my other sailboats, but on this boat and on, say, the Compact 16 Pilot House project, there was no backstay, right? Some of these trailerable boats don't have a backstay. They rely on the shrouds kind of being set back a little bit, and that's what puts your back tension on the mast, when you step it. It's for ease of trailerability. Well, on the Skipper 20, there's a nice stern rail. It's all welded. It's very high quality. And I thought this would be a great place to mount, the ensign and have it fly off the back. But you need some sort of flagpole that'll attach to the stern pulpit. If you go online, you'll see a lot of these cheap flagpoles. They just take a metal pole, they bend down one end and make it flat, then kind of wrap it around the railing and you bolt it off. Well, look, they break off over time. It's a notoriously bad design. They're terrible. I would never put one of those things back on my boat if I had to. I've been searching for some sort of a better flagpole that'll mount to a railing, and I came across this thing. So my solution is this thing here. Now, look, I talk about it all the time. I have no sponsors on Motor City Boat Werks. I don't get paid to talk about any products, and no one supports this channel other than the workers and the passive ad revenue that we get from YouTube. That's why I'm always asking for subscribers, right? But I do like to show you products that I think are pretty clever and might be something that you haven't seen. Something, if you're like me, I'm always searching for a better piece of gear to kind of solve the problems that present themselves, on these boat restoration projects. And I think this is one of them. This thing is from a company called Brocraft. I found it on Amazon. And basically it mounts to the stern rail. I'll show you how it works. Basically, you attach it to the stern rail, and then it's got these adjustable clips on the side here that'll work for, an ensign of different sizes or what have you. I just want to tell you, it's very well made, and I'm extremely happy. It cost about $30. I'll put the link in the show description. If you're looking for a rail-mounted flagpole, this is probably the best solution I've come across so far.
Impressive.
I'm very happy with it. The pole attaches to the base here using a set screw, and the whole thing, is really kind of robust. I like it. I think I've come to the end of the restoration of this little sailboat. Everything is done on my list, everything I wanted to do. So I'm going to go ahead and call this sailboat restoration project complete. It's done. Now, all I need to do is do a sea trial, get the boat in the water. I'm sure there'll be some kinks that we got to work out. But all the big projects are done. And now you can look back at the playlist and see all of the episodes unfold how we put this boat together. Don't worry, I've got other projects here in the boat works. I'll be back working on the trawler. There's a number of things I've got to get done as we go into the winter months. And I've got to start thinking about, well, what am I going to do with the Skipper 20? And what's next for the sailboat side of Motor City Boat Werks? That'll be a topic for another day. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you again next time. Stay motivated.
If you're thinking about restoring a classic sailboat or an old trawler, check out all of the videos on my YouTube channel. Consider joining the workers or taking advantage of my boat restoration consulting services. I offer personal coaching for your boat restoration project. Be sure to like and subscribe. This channel would not be possible without your support. Thank you.